I don't believe the leaving MAGA movement is real. I've gone looking for these videos and these tweets, and I don't see them. But what I do see are people who have doubled, tripled, quadrupled down on their support for whatever this man is doing. A lot of people are really underestimating what Donald Trump means to white America right now. And this goes back to Barack Obama. It always goes back to Barack Obama. Even Donald Trump continues to reference Barack Obama. Have you guys ever looked at some of the quotes by Elon Musk or Peter Thiel when they talk about democracy? I believe Elon Musk said something about democracy falling apart back in 2009. Peter Thiel said something very similar about the country not being what it used to be around the same time. Something truly broke in the psyche of a lot of white Americans when that man became president. And as a black man, I saw it. A lot of people in the black community saw it. There was something different that broke in these people when Barack Obama became president. It was more than just being disappointed in the candidate they wanted not being elected. It was a deep, deep hatred that started to come up in these people. It was a fear that started to come up in these people. You could see that a good amount of white America, people from all walks of life, felt very, very threatened by their place in society just because that man took office. Donald Trump was one of these people, all right? Remember, he was the original birther, okay? He was one of the first people saying that Barack Obama couldn't be a citizen because in his mind, in the mind of a lot of these people, America was never supposed to allow someone like that to be the president. All of the rules, all of the systems, all of the systemic oppression that we have put in place to keep these people from rising to these heights did not work. And now they don't know if they can maintain control of society. This was the feeling of a lot of white Americans during Barack Obama's presidency. So MAGA is born. Trump becomes the face of this movement of Make America Great Again. People say, what does that mean? It means exactly what it means. You don't have to break it down, all right? America was great when people like Barack Obama, when people of color, when marginalized communities did not have the opportunities to rise to success. That's what that means. MAGA has given these people, it's not just a cult, MAGA has given these people a culture in a place where they did not have one before. For the longest time, black people, Latinos, Asians, Middle Eastern people could lean back on their culture to anchor themselves in their identity, where their people are from, the history of their people. The only real history of white America in this country is theft, murder, colonization, and genocide. But if you slap MAGA on that, okay, if you put everything that Trump represents on that, it romanticizes what it means to be a white American here in this country. I've listened to people who vote for Trump talk about how much safer they feel, how much more confident they feel in their future, despite the fact that this economy is torn to shreds. This is why these people will rationalize that it does not matter what goes on with his presidency. It does not matter how many lies he tells. It does not matter how many things that he does that will affect them. They will not change their minds on voting for him, because all he represents is them being on top. That's all that means. And they feel like if they see him there, all right, they still control everything. That's it. So if things get more expensive, that's fine. He's there. If we go to war, that's fine. He's there. If, you know, whatever happens, they could be thrown out on the street by the government that he has created. It does not matter because he's there. So I don't see a lot of people leaving MAGA. I see these people going down with the ship and hoping they can take as many of us with them.
Then why are you on TikTok? Go to Truth. They're all there. Seriously, go. You don't care about the left. You don't care about anybody on the left. This statement screams you don't care about anybody but yourself. That's all this says. You and every supporter that you have that's thinking you're great for this, you are the person that goes to court when there's a domestic assault and you tell the judge, well, I know it's the 10th time, but they promised they'd change. They knew every step of the way what they were doing. 2016, 2020, and 2024, they were not confused. They were not dumbfounded. They were not duped. So by you saying you are leaving space for them, you're basically saying, well, they haven't left yet, so I guess they're okay with people being ripped out of homes and shipped out of here. And they're okay with trans children being assaulted. And they're okay with women now going to have a national ban against their body. That's what you're saying. So go to Truth. Go to Truth, go to X. Why are you even here?
So I just watched the video of a trans person talking about how we shouldn't be criticizing those that are regretting their vote and we shouldn't be making fun of them. I'm sorry, but sure, come on in, let's fight this. But at the same time, I don't trust them. Why? Because their key motivator was economics. They value profits over people. I myself, as a child of someone who fought in Vietnam and the grandchild of someone who fought in World War I, do not trust them. Because here I am, as their child and grandchild, currently considering having to seek asylum. As an American, I am currently considering having to seek asylum. So no, I don't trust them.
Anybody else on I'm Leaving MAGA talk? I'm over there now and I have some very interesting news to report. So I don't know if you know, but I'm Leaving MAGA is a trending topic right now. And there are a lot of Republicans that are like, oh, I'm leaving MAGA. I regret my vote. I should never did this. But here's the interesting thing that you are not paying attention to. Even though I'm hearing a lot of them say, I regret my vote, I should never voted for Trump, they are saying something or not saying something that you guys are not paying attention to. This guy says that he's leaving MAGA and he regrets his vote for Donald Trump, but he says you should have had Candace Owens or JD Vance instead. Like, he's not saying Kamala Harris, he's saying I would have rather JD Vance, as if they're not the same. Then you have this guy up here who says he would have rather not voted at all instead of voting for Kamala Harris. He would have never voted at all. I say all of this to say they would rather anybody else like Candace Owens over the overly qualified black district attorney slash vice president. They don't actually regret not voting for Kamala Harris. They just regret voting for Donald Trump. It's not the same.
So I think a lot of US voters, especially people on the left, are pretty delusional. They think that a lot of these Trump voters are regretting their votes. Maybe some of the moderate ones are, but a lot of the ones on the further side of the right don't regret their vote. I don't think people realize that in this country, a lot of people, they don't vote to get something. They vote so the people that they hate don't have anything. So even if they bring this country down, they arrest all this research. I'm a researcher. I'm a biochemist by training. I'm also a neuroscientist by training as well. So the freezing of the NIH, the freezing of the CDC communications, the loss of benefits, they do not care that it affects people that look like them. They don't care if it affects people that they know personally and people that they love, because in their mind, that is worth it. If a person that they consider to be a quote unquote DEI is affected more by it, that does more for them than actually gaining something. And I think a lot of people need to realize this, because it saves a lot of time in terms of trying to explain stuff to people, trying to explain the statistics, trying to explain like why X, Y, and Z is bad. Because in their mind, when you have a vindictive spirit, a personality that is based on ensuring and solidifying lack for other people, the facts that these same policies can hurt you doesn't matter, because in your mind, that, if you want to call it revenge, get back, hate, retribution, evening the score, whatever you want to call it, all of that is worth it if you can stop who you perceive to be your enemy from getting ahead of you. This is why Donald Trump, JD Vance, and Pete Hegseth can get on national TV hours, less than one day after a horrific, fatal plane accident involving a military plane, and immediately blame DEI, because DEI now is going to be the scapegoat for everything that they want to get through, because they know that there is a rabid contingency within their base that will greenlight, will overlook, and will justify just about anything if you can say that DEI is responsible for the downfall of America. Now, they've politicized this death so horribly that one of the pilots, the parents, had to, withhold her name to put out a statement saying that she was justified in having her spot, because they've gone on this DEI rampage. And to a lot of the people that vote Republican now, and I'm not going to mince my words and say some, whatever, a lot of them, in many cases, I would say 90 to 100%, a lot of those people are willing to tank this country. They're really willing to rip apart the American institutions for the facts that they think that DEIs, which is code for Black, female in a lot of cases, right? Mainly Black as a race, but especially Black female people that they don't think are intelligent enough, qualified enough, or good enough to get anything, are getting an advantage over them. And they would rather see institutions be ripped apart, families be ripped apart, the prestige and the seriousness of many jobs be undermined. In the case of, air traffic controllers, scientists, whatever, they would rather see all of that undermined than to live with the perception that someone that they feel is unqualified is getting one over on them. And I think people need to really come to terms with that. They need to accept that, because that will save you a lot of time and energy arguing in favor of the Constitution, arguing in favor of this, arguing in favor of that, because these their thought process is not based in the Constitution. When you argue with someone, when you have a discussion, when you are doing a debate, the key tenet of debate is that both parties are coming from the debate with the same premise, but their conclusions are different. But if the other person's premise is not based in reality, you arguing with them is not going to make any difference to how they perceive your point of view. So cut the shit, save yourself the trouble, stop arguing with these people, let them go. They're a lost cause, okay?
The Capitol Police saved my life that day. I want them to know how truly grateful.
70-year-old Pam Hemphill can't help but remember how she felt on July 4th of last year. She was getting ready to go to prison.
You feel you were guilty of what the crime was?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Whose house does it belong to? It's my house. Come on in.
Pam Hemphill ended up inside the Capitol building. She flew back to Idaho, still believing much of the dogma she had been taught.
The Democrats wanted this to be a communist country and that they were drinking baby's blood.
Did you believe that?
No, I thought that was kind of weird.
But did you believe that it was the Democrats wanted this to be a communist country?
Yes.
Hemphill was arrested on multiple charges. After a plea bargain and pleading guilty to illegal entry to the Capitol, she was sentenced to 2 months in a federal prison in California.
I live with the fear every minute. You just live with it.
She did have questions about the far-right talking points about Trump, but still considered herself a Trump supporter. A few months ago, she had a revelation.
When you heard the former president say that he would consider pardoning some J6ers, it changed your mind.
Absolutely, 100%.
And what did you then think of Donald Trump?
That's it. He's just a master manipulator. He doesn't believe anything. He just thinks he's smart enough to pull the wool over you. But there's people like me waking up.
The former president's responsible for that?
Absolutely. He's the king of that gaslighting. It's a cult. It's a cult.
And then this happened.
A right-wing person wrote something on his Truth Social with the comment, horrible. What was the first thing that went through your mind?
This is it. This is it.
Please, Donald Trump, don't be using me for anything. I'm not a victim of January 6th. I pleaded guilty because I was guilty. Stop the spin. Pam Hemphill wants to go back to the U.S. Capitol to testify under oath about January 6th.
I am not a victim of the government. The Justice Department was not weaponized against me. I was a participant. We broke the law. In the crowd, I was pushed down. My head was trampled on, my shoulder pulled out. The Capitol Police saved my life that day. I want them to know how truly grateful I am to them and how deeply sorry I am for what happened and how they continue to be treated to this day.
She says she wants to remain a registered Republican, but if Donald Trump runs against Joe Biden next year in the general election, there's no way she says she'd vote for Trump, she'd vote for Joe Biden. One final thing, Anderson, Pam Hemphill is still fighting breast cancer. And she says right now her life's goal is to, quote, make things right.